begin to talk about a report, particularly recorded by the Guardian newspapers, where they highlighted that Akwa Ibom budgeted $1 billion for lawmakers, and then 250 million in capital budget for the health sector. They also went ahead to mention that another 90 million has been set aside for vehicles meant for staff handling, committee work, and sensitive duties with the Prado for the speaker, which will cost 78 million naira. And the agricultural and rural development, the capital expenditure for the State Second Education Board was put as stands at 100 million, while technical school received 200 million. Rural water supply and sanitation was allocated 100 million, despite the data from MBS that shows that 64% of households of the state lack access to clean water. And Akwa Ibom State Company Limited was allocated 80 million, raising concerns about access to potable water. According to MBS, it is said that multidimensional poverty index, 70% of households of Akwa Ibom people lack access to sanitary facilities, and this comes at a time, like you rightly said, when cholera outbreak was recently recorded in the state, leading to loss of lives. I want to say that we have discussed part of this issue of budget some time ago, because I think that was in December. Open Forum was invited to be part of the budget appraisal by the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, which we made our position known. In fact, we made a 13-page presentation, which we served the House of Assembly. We also served His Excellency, the Governor. I'm actually here with a copy of our position, because what we had was not a full breakdown of budgetary provisions as being done by Guardian. And that is to the effect that after the budget was passed, and I must say this, the budget was passed as was given. The total capital, we had, what do you call it now? 300 billion, and then 655 billion put together give us the total budget. One was for the capital expenditure, and then the recurrent, and the House passed that same budget, which was about 955 billion naira. We had raised observations on certain provisions. For the House of Assembly, where we have seen the Guardian spotlight 100 billion, a million. Yeah. It was not broken down in the budget we were given. I think what we have for the House of Assembly in the budget was about 7 billion. And I remember the NLC chairman, when he spoke, he drew the Speaker's attention to the dilapidated state of the House of Assembly complex itself. There was 7 billion naira allocated to the House of Assembly. They should be able to do something about it, because even the roof of the, where we use the old chapel that has been used for public hearing, the roof have caved in. Generally, the outlook of that place looks like a place that has not been habited. The Speaker raised that. The NLC chairman, Comrade Sonny James, raised that, which we also agree with him. And the Speaker said the Governor had inspected the place, and there was actually plans to renovate the House of Assembly. So when you look at 7 billion for 26 members and some staff that are there, that's a fabulous sum. So now that the budget has been broken down to that extent, shows that those people talking, they are talking from a position of knowledge, because they have the details. And it will be very difficult for one to want to compare that, because I am investigating something. I understand that vehicles had been given to the House of Assembly members.
Before this time?
Before this time. I'm still investigating, I'm not sure. And then if vehicles were given, how come we're having that amount of budget, 1 billion, for another set of vehicles for the same members? The Speaker is supposed to have had a vehicle, but if he has not, so I don't want to speak too much on the issue of the budget for the vehicles. But making the comparison as was done is very healthy, because we raised very strong reservations about the budgetary provisions. For instance, the education sector. Guardian mentioned how much was given to State Secondary Education Board, but generally speaking, we raised serious observation, and I want to just see if I can take that from, let me start from even one of the offices that we raised issues about, which had to be with the Accountant General's office, which was given 57.085 billion, and then as capital, and then recurrent at 3 billion, making a total budgetary provision of 60.08 billion. And the questions we raised were, what are the activities there? And then the entire budget for the education sector is 60.088 billion. That is about the same with the budget of the Accountant General's office. And that budget in the education sector, capital budget for Akwa Ibom State University, for Akwa Ibom State Polytechnic, which other one again? All the tertiary institutions under Ministry of Education, they had zero capital budget, which means no project will be done. All they had happens to have been just recurrent. For instance, the recurring expenditure for Ministry of Education was 6.270 billion, with the capital expenditure of 14.1 billion, making a total of 20.370 billion. Secondary Education Board, recurring expenditure is 19.868 billion, capital expenditure 100 million, as was quoted by that Guardian. That makes it a total of 19.968 billion. State Universal Education Board, recurring expenditure 2.484 billion, and capital just 200 billion. Technical Education Board, 1.658 billion, capital 200 million. Special Education Center, only recurring expenditure 25 million. French Language Center, 14.8 million. College of Education of Nursing Sciences, 611.74 billion. No capital. Akwa Ibom State Polytechnic, 3.348 billion. College of Science and Technology, 1.376 billion. Akwa Ibom State College of Education, 2.630 billion. Akwa Ibom State Agency for Adult and Non-Formal Education, 94.74 million. Akwa Ibom Library, State Library Board, 61.613 million. Akwa Ibom State Teachers Registration Council, 8.6 million. All of them, there is no single capital budget provision.
According to the breakdown there,
yes.
you have, is there capital expenditure for Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development?
Yes, I will have to check that up. But what I'm trying to say here is that there was the defense that was put up by the then Commissioner for Economic Development, and that is to the effect that the 14 billion capital budget of the Ministry of Education, that will be used to augment, to make up for the zero capital provision for all the tertiary institutions in the state. And we took exception to that because it shows that even the budget as presented was not ready to be presented. You couldn't have left zero capital budgetary provision and then to assume that just call it paltry 14 billion will be able to take care of the education sector. Absolutely impossible. And it is very likely going to play out, and it would not be the best for Akwa Ibom State to have that sector in which a state of emergency was declared under the Udo Emmanuel administration after it received the education think tank report, which was Akwa Ibom State Strategic Education Roadmap that was put together by the think tank headed by distinguished Professor Hilary Young, which roadmap was even, the state of emergency after being declared was almost automatically abandoned. And that report, we are still appealing to His Excellency to call for that report and implement. Because if that report was implemented, the kind of budget for the education sector would never have been, because the clear needs will have been seen, and before you know it, it will have been something that we said, yes, our focus is to make education a vocal point, and then the budget won't be something that, like a NLC chairman also rightly pointed out, he said, there are projects and programs that the Akwa Ibom State University are supposed to embark upon. Where would they have funds to do that if nothing was given? So much questions. In the budget directly, still under the, what subject is this? This is the recurrent. We talked about the Akwa Ibom Water Corporation, from what I'm having here in the budget document that was given. The total expenditure was 754.8 million. I will look out for that of agriculture and let us know.
I'm actually asking on that agriculture because the breakdown from The Guardian, it says that no capital expenditure was budgeted for the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. And I just want to ask, what are the potential consequences for food security and rural livelihoods in the state? Because when we're talking about food, everybody go back to your farm, everybody go back to the farm and all of that. But then it cannot be just the people's efforts. The government has to come in. So with no capital expenditure, what does this portend for food security in the state?
It's something of concern, and why it should be really of concern too is that some of the media aides to the governor, they talk about agriculture because in their RISE agenda, the letter A is said to represent agriculture, and to some persons it means where the alphabet stand. That is how the importance that is being placed, which is not correct, because the capital budget for agriculture here, I've seen Agricultural Loans Board, they have zero. Agricultural Development Program, they have zero budget provision. Let me look out for any other thing about agriculture. Akwa Ibom State Integrated Farmers Scheme, there is zero budgetary provision here. I guess it may likely be zero all through. The bottom line is that when you hear people talk about there's agricultural revolution going on, massive farming, very massive. Even yesterday, I saw one of such, and I've seen one of the aides to the governor do a documentary where he gets pictures of tractors from some other state and gets pictures from online from other farms. and put it up, and just to make sure that his office has done something.
How are you certain that it's from another state citizen?
It is obvious because How is because we are on ground, and some of these pictures we've seen them elsewhere, and if you do fact checking, you will see it, and because it's not something that somebody has gone to a farm to stand there to show. Yeah, I am at. For instance, we have a model farm at Ikoridibun, which His Excellency is using as a pilot scheme. Unfortunately, almost every administration tries to do that. We cannot be doing pilot scheme in agriculture. Every administration, like under the manual administration, we had the greenhouse at the airport road, just close to the airport, which became almost the greatest thing happening in the States. And for those that knew, they knew that that was just for photo shoot. Not much was going on there until the place collapsed because it wasn't even really meant to survive. It's not that kind of idea, or not that kind of photo shoot showing that you bring into agriculture. What you do in agriculture is to be mechanized farming, and if it's to be integrated farming, it must be such that you are sure that you are going to produce things that will be in line with your comparative advantage. Our parents have been planting from we were born to see our great-grandparents as farmers, and we grew up to be farmers, where we used to actually go to farm. I used to go to farm with my parents. Sometimes when you come back from school, the food would not be there in the house for you to eat, because you will have been told, when you come back from school, come to the farm. They will name where the farm is, because farm locations had names, you see. Come to Riomong, and come to this and that, and when you go, your lunch was there for you to eat, and then you join them in doing farming. But we are having government bring people that they consider as experts to show us how to farm. And it's very expensive. And it would never yield. Why? Because it's limited. It's just like, okay, when you see this, go and replicate elsewhere, but it almost ends up there. So, as much as I commend His Excellency for what is going on at the Ikoridibun, which I hope to be there, the only thing I've noticed is the fencing, which I've raised here some time ago. It is cast concrete fence for a farm. I don't know who gave such idea. I don't know if there are farms on planet Earth that uses concrete as the fence for a farm. That cost may be more than what may ever be harvested in that place. So you look at cost implication in doing things, and why are you doing what you're doing is of concern. Then you have a place like Ini with so much vast land, with clear things that can be done. Then you have the blue economy, which was even a campaign mantra for almost all the candidates, both aspirants and even candidates who are going to blue economy, because those are where we have strength. Then you have the palm fruit sector, you understand, where it is we have that. That is our domain. That's our constituency. But we are not doing much in that area, So if we are not controlling the fish, the crayfish that comes out of our waters, we don't even have much of even to help the foreigners who are mostly the ones giving our people farm implement, fishing tools to work with. We don't even tap from there. Our people don't even have the financial capacity. So it's beyond that, there's capital budget or there's no capital budget. The reality is that the budget itself, like we raised issues, the budget should have been tinkered. Where you're putting money into palliative, for instance, like the Bulk Purchase Agency, I think their entire budget is close to over 13 point something billion. You go to the capital, you go to the recurrent, and you wonder what can be achieved with that for an agency that was supposed to be a temporary agency. How temporary is temporary? Is 2 years not more than enough for a temporary agency in a 4-year tenure of a government? Even as much as people want to believe that 8 years is automatic, yes, it's possible. After all, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, yes, but you do not plan for 8 years. You plan based on the term.
Anything can happen.
No, you don't mean yes, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yes, but if you are planning to succeed, some people plan to fail. Yes, and it is obvious there are places that people plan to fail. But the funniest thing is that those that will tell leaders this way will lead us to doom, they are considered as anti-government. And the praise singers, like those that say there's agricultural revolution going on in Akwa Ibom State, agricultural revolution going on in Akwa Ibom State, almost all the Gary that we consume come from outside the state and from local farmers like us. And I want to say this by the grace of God, at least for the last about 4 months or so, we've not bought Gary or fufu in the house because we actually went into farming. Whatever little land we had to plant.
Are you a beneficiary today on the rewards?
No.
Okay.
I didn't contest. When we get to that, we'll talk more.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So imagine a family not being able to buy Gary for at least 3 to 4 months. Not buy fufu. You understand? That's a big plus. But has that reduced the amount of fufu and Gary coming from outside of the state? It has not. So if there is no particular area where farmers outside the state will say, oh, we don't have customers again, or because in Akwa Ibom State that used to come, they were our biggest buyers. They no longer come because their Gary farm, cassava farm, and Gary processing mills that we had were here and there, yes, are producing. Yes, they are here and there, but they are not producing. Like the rice factory in Ini that was so touted, and we heard things even while that was going on. We saw the Dakada family rice, whatever it was called. One bag was taken to the exco and presented by the Committee on Food Sufficiency and whatever, and it all ended there. You don't see it in the market, you don't see it in any shop. The traders don't trade on it because it's not there. But you had people who were too loud and, in fact, loud and lousy about the achievements that were just make-believe. So it is a thing of concern that we must be able to look at every aspect of our state life on what is on ground, not what some persons who I may call apprentice magicians will want you to believe.
All right.
They try to do magic, but they're not doing it. They say, have you not seen what I have done? And they want you to say, yes, I've seen, and they'll be very happy. Okay. So it's a thing of concern because there's no way that at the end of the day we'll look back and say, yeah, we have achieved a lot. What the governor sought to achieve, he has achieved. It would never be if we don't do correctly.